I've built my biceps through calisthenics, and in this video I'm gonna show you the exercises I use to do it. Let's get into it. Some people call them pelican curls, others call them Hefesto curls. We used to call them inferno curls back in the day due to the burn you'll soon experience if you try them. Essentially, the exercise is a very scalable and very efficient bodyweight curl. For the setup there are options, but I recommend starting with a low bar or a racked barbell. Using a barbell is especially helpful because you can adjust the height so it lines up with your lower back. This can also be done in rings, but from my experience, some people and especially newcomers have trouble with the lack of stability. There's a better variation for rings later in the list, so for now use a bar instead. From this setup, you're going to grab the bar shoulder width apart while facing the rack. It's important not to face away from the rack because this way you'll risk the barbell falling from the hooks. Next, place your feet under the barbell, then lean forward with full control and extended arms. Make sure your body is straight and that you're not bending at the hips. In this bottom position, your weight is automatically shifted forward and the next step is curling against it. Go for controlled reps with your elbows tucked and pointing straight back. And if the bar is at the correct height, it should touch your lower back at the top. This exercise allows you to scale the difficulty by adjusting your body position. It gets harder the further you step behind the bar, as you'll be curling a higher percentage of your body weight. And if you step back long enough, your feet will eventually stop helping, so you simply adjust to your own level. This is another curl movement, and this time it's performed in rings, or actually only one ring is needed. First, make the setup at about abdomen height and then grab the ring deep within the palm of your hand. It's important not to grab it with the fingers because this way your wrist will bend excessively when you initiate the curl. When you have the proper grip, lean back, straighten your arms and open your chest. From there, pull the ring towards the top of your forehead while lifting the elbows up. This should create a curling movement, allowing you to isolate and contract the biceps. A big difference in the ring curl compared to the often more popular ring row is the position of the upper arms. In the row, the upper arm stays tucked close to the side in the top position. But in the curl, you should aim to form a 90-degree angle away from the body by pointing your elbows up. When it comes to scalability, the movement gets more difficult the more horizontal your back is. This means you simply take a step forward when you're ready to progress. And if it's still too easy at horizontal, you can elevate your feet. Some people like to progress into one-arm variations, but curling with elevated feet is tough and should be challenging enough for almost everyone. Also, like in the other variations, it's better to go for controlled reps, squeezing the biceps, and that often requires an easier progression. This is an exercise I mainly use to progress towards the one-arm pull-up, but I also noticed significant bicep development in that period, so it definitely deserves a spot on the list. To perform it, you're first going to grab the bar with one hand in a deep chin-up grip, and make sure your elbow is pointing directly in front of you. Then, with the other hand, go wider and grab the bar palms facing outwards like you would in a pull-up. It can be helpful to begin from an elevated surface, so you can make these grip adjustments before hanging freely. Once in position, focus on the hand doing a chin-up grip and pull with all you've got while keeping the elbow facing forward. At the same time, you can compensate with the other hand so that your chin is able to clear the bar. And over time, you can progressively overload this exercise by reducing the assistance. But even with compensation, this exercise still has a pretty high skill level. And if it's too difficult for you right now, then you can focus on the negative part of the movement. You can also use rings and an elevated surface, because this way you can not only compensate with the opposite hand, but with the feet as well. Normally, the chin-up is performed with an arched back. The chest is pointing up and the shoulder blades are retracted. This makes a lot of sense because it's the strongest option. It recruits the big back muscles and allows you to do more reps or move more weight. But that's not necessarily the best way to build your biceps. Here's what you can do instead. First, flatten out your lower back with a posterior pelvic tilt. An easy way to do this is to start from an elevated surface and bring out one leg. From there, fully exhale to empty your stomach and maintain that flexed position as you breathe in again. This should create a hollow body position. When you've got that down, you can grab the bar with a narrow grip, palms facing inwards. It's fine to make small width adjustments based on feel, because wrist mobility is often a limiting factor in close grip chin-ups. But try to go no wider than shoulder width apart. apart. Next, you're gonna start the pull and maintain the pull with the hollow body position. This means your shoulder blades are protracted so they're not touching, your legs are in front and your core is flexed. This forces your biceps to do most of the work, as your back to a lesser degree will compensate when the biceps are in a weaker position, like it would in a regular chin-up. Try to make the entire movement controlled, focusing on the contraction in the biceps. This of course makes it significantly more difficult, but you can scale the exercise with resistance bands as needed. Before moving on to the fifth and final exercise, I also feel the need to make an honorable mention to something that doesn't quite fit the category, since it's not pure bodyweight but instead based on weighted calisthenics, and that's the weighted pull-up. Lately I've used this exercise a lot and seen noticeable bicep gains, so if you have that option, you can consider that as well. If you're interested in weighted calisthenics, then you can watch my video on how to progress your weighted pull-up, and I will also be dropping a weighted calisthenics program very soon. Some of you maybe weren't expecting this, but if you've seen my latest video, you know that high tension isometrics with the muscle in a fully stretched position provides excellent hypertrophy and tendon strength, and calisthenics allows us to utilize this fact really well when targeting the biceps through planche leans. In this exercise, you're gonna place your hands shoulder width apart and rotate your fingers 45 degrees out. This should make your biceps face forward. After that, protract your shoulder blades and lean forward until you feel a good stretch on your biceps and front delts. Now hold that position for time. This sort of training is one of the reasons why Olympic gymnasts and planche specialists have such impressive biceps. But while it's an effective exercise, and even though you can scale the intensity with the amount of lean, it generally places a high stress level on the body, and wrist injuries are also quite common. So it's important to implement it in moderation. To prevent injuries, I recommend the combination of wrist wraps and parallettes. The ones I'm using here are from Gonation. That was it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned some new exercises, and I will see you in the next one.